camera are you using? The one at the front
¿Qué
or the
tal,
back?
mis amigos? Los dos. Estamos saludando desde nuestro canal de negocios en TM. Hoy con Richard. Voy a girar la cámara aquí. También me está acompañando Giovanni Montoya, que es experto en economía. This is an expert, economy expert.
Excellent.
Okay, what is your opinion about the Colombian economy today?
Well, I don't think there's any dispute that the Colombian economy is facing some very serious headwinds. I'll give you an example. We've had the finance minister of this country on Quest Means Business many times, and if you look at the question of oil and commodities, if you look at the question of the currency, if you look at the question, all these issues, they are serious challenges. But fundamentally, the economy is showing strength because of the way it's been reformed. The problems that Colombia is facing at the moment are similar to many other emerging markets. I mean, all right, I agree they've got a particular problem with your currency, but if you look at the moment at all those other countries that are oil-based, commodity-based, the currency's under threat, inflation's taking off, these are all issues.
Okay. What do you think about the actual moment of the Brazilian economy?
Well, there's no question the Brazilian economy is in a terrible state. Yeah. I mean, no one disagrees. You know, recession, unemployment, inflation, a deficit, and the president was enjoying record lows. So you have to ask yourself, what are the policies that Brazil is going to put in place? I mean, Brazil is part of the BRICS. Yeah. Well, let's look at the BRICS. Brazil's in terrible trouble. Russia is just about coming out of recession, absolutely destroyed economically because of the inflation. I'm sorry, because of oil prices. India is still trying to transform. China, we know there's a slowdown underway at the moment, and South Africa has absolute economic turmoil everywhere at the moment. So the current situation of the BRICS is very, very serious.
Okay, but India is the best economy of the BRICS.
Well, we have a saying: it's the cleanest dirty shirt in the laundry.
What is the solution for this critical moment in the worldwide economy?
Well, I think that's a very, very good question, because there really isn't, there's no one size fits all. We are in one of the most difficult, challenging environments for macroeconomics or for economics at the moment. There's no question. Whichever way, I'll give you an example. There are three issues at the moment that are affecting the global economy. The first, China. Well, we clearly know about that, and we clearly know, and we can question whether the Chinese numbers, 7.1, 7.2, you talk about the dark pools. The next one, oil. Goldman Sachs on Friday said that oil could collapse to $20 a barrel. Now that's going to have that's helpful for countries like the United States and those in Europe, which obviously have a larger oil consumption. But what does it do for countries like Brazil, for Colombia, for the oil exporting nations, OPEC? The third, the Fed. The US Fed. Now this week the US Fed will decide whether it's going to raise interest rates. It will be the first rise in rates since 2006 and the first start of a rising cycle since 2004. We don't know what the Fed's going to do, but the best opinion suggests that the US needs higher interest rates sooner rather than later. And even if it's not now in September, it'll be in October or in December, because Janet Yellen has said rates will probably go up this year. So that's a long way of saying, let me put it in terms that you and I will understand. Are we screwed? Probably the economy at the moment is in deep trouble or headwinds, but there is growth in many developed countries, and actually things will probably pull themselves round.
Okay, and Europe, what do you think about the actual moment of Europe and Greece, Germany? Okay.
Europe faces specific situation in Venezuela. Not good. In Venezuela, you're looking at an economy that's coming closer to collapse than most. A good friend of mine has just come back from Venezuela, used to live there, and said to see people queuing up for basic foods for hours or going to different places. And there's no obvious reason for this. I mean, there's no other country on this continent that is suffering the same sort of economic problems. Colombia, a near neighbour, as far as I'm aware, nobody in Colombia is going to stand in a line to buy a loaf of bread. So you've got to ask yourself, what is the difference? But back to Europe. The migrant and refugee crisis in Europe at the moment is the single biggest issue, because it threatens not only the social fabric in many cases, but also the economic stability. You're talking now about borders being closed, Schengen being suspended in certain cases. You're talking about a wholesale disruption of economics. So that is very serious. As for Greece, we've just got to wait and see. The ball is in Greece's court.
Okay, the final question is, what is the main interview you have had?
The best interview?
Yeah. For many journalists.
There's been too many. There's been too
For
many.
example?
The Dalai Lama.
Sí.
You know, some CEOs like Gordon Bethune when he was at Continental Airlines who were brilliant. His Majesty King Abdullah. You know, there have been so many. It's not. I tell you what it is. A great interview is like ballroom dancing. You understand? Ballroom dancing.
Yeah.
If I'm doing the foxtrot and you're doing the waltz, it's not going to work. So one of the great interviews I did was with a guy called Hugh Hefner. Hugh Hefner is the head of Playboy. And I said to him, Mr. Hefner, what for you is the definition of a beautiful woman? And he said, it is as if when a beautiful woman comes into the room, it's as if time stands still. Now, I don't know whether it was right or not, but it was, so do you know what I mean? So a great interview is not any particular person, it's that chemistry that builds.
Yeah.
And then you enjoy it. I love Colombian coffee. Of course, I won't sleep.
Excellent, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry I don't...